So Absolute Superman just dropped, and not only is it garbage, but I think it's safe to say that this Absolute universe is progressively getting worse. So I'm not a Superman expert or anything, but after reading this comic, I was just sitting there scratching my head thinking, what on God's green earth did I just read? Seriously, this comic could actually be worse than Absolute Batman. And before you morons start typing in your comment saying this is rage bait, stop and just for 1 second, I know this might be hard for you, but think, use your brain and realize just because I don't like the comic doesn't mean this is rage bait. Have you thought of the possibility that maybe this just sucks? Because holy mother of God, does it suck. So I'm not doing a page by page breakdown like I did with Absolute Batman, because I actually thought this comic was going to be good. Doesn't have any edgy cursing, doesn't have any cringy dialogue, but unfortunately that's the only good things I can actually say about it. So it seems the Absolute universe is going for this vibe of the lower class. Batman isn't a rich guy anymore, now he's working construction jobs, and the same goes for Superman. So in this universe, his family were lower class people on Krypton, and now instead of protecting the people of Metropolis, he's helping out these poor workers in Brazil, and that's when things really start getting terrible. Firstly though, for me, comes a way bigger issue that actually snuck its way into the story. So Superman's dad, Jor-El, studied science on Krypton. He was going to be this upper class successful dude until one fateful day at his graduation ceremony, where instead of thanking the people who gave him this opportunity, he starts whining about climate change and environmental awareness. So the crowd, with common sense, as you would do, laughed that idiot out of there. Now Jor-El has a job as a lower class worker, but in that work, Jor-El discovers that he was actually correct about the environmental issues, and Krypton is rotting from the inside. Yep, you heard all of that correctly. They managed to fit in a preachy global warming lecture. Nobody cares about global warming in comic books. They don't want to hear about ozone layers or how we're damaging the environment. Shut up and go screw yourself. All those years ago when Denny O'Neil started bringing global warming and environmental issues into his stories, it was retarded, and right now it's still brain dead. Anyways, then we get to the modern setting of this story, which is Brazil of all places. And in your head reading this, you'd be wondering, why Brazil? It's so the preachy writers can have the black people as the downtrodden and oppressed. And speaking of oppressors, we get to the lazy villains in this story. The bad guys in this story are called the Lazarus Corps, and coincidentally, they're all white. Every goddamned one is white. But in the midst of all of these poor black workers is a mysterious stranger with a gay haircut that belongs to a barista from Starbucks. But that's entirely besides the point. So who the hell is this mysterious stranger? It's Superman, and he's here to save the black people from the evil whites. I can't wait to read on.
Fuck off.
And at the very end of this dumpster fire, spoiler alert, but don't actually read it because it's garbage, Lois Lane shows up. And not as the journalist that we all know from the Daily Planet, or as the love interest for Superman. Instead, she has a short lesbian haircut, she's a girl boss, and she's the villain. Really? Please, answer me this. Really? The only people saying this comic is good aren't actually using correct grammar. They're using made up TikTok black slang words like peak, cold, this goes hard. Newsflash for you, buddy, it doesn't actually go hard. You should be disqualified from arguing with people about comic books when you haven't read one and all you do is scroll on TikTok all day. It might be cool in anime when the protagonist with the gay haircut says an edgy line and destroys an entire army with one finger. But over here in the world of comic books, it's not cool, it's not peak, it's not cold, it's just plain retarded. Similar to the people who perpetuate it. And lastly, I know some tard in the comments is going to bring up the argument saying this is an alternate universe. This is not the same as any other alternate universe. The Dark Knight Returns is an Elseworld story. The farthest that goes in changing things because it's an alternate universe is making Robin a girl. And even in that, Robin isn't gender swapped. Instead, Carrie Kelly takes up the mantle of Robin. You can't just jump in and change a pre-existing character to black for no good reason in the story, except it's an alternate universe, man. Darkseid created this. Think Darkseid went in and handpicked Barbara Gordon saying, she's gonna be black. You think he went in there and changed Lois Lane to have a short lesbian haircut? No, it's just an excuse for the writers to jump in and ruin something that people actually like. DC is so desperate for an opportunity to inject anti-white rhetoric and commie propaganda into their stories. It doesn't fit, it's not good writing, it's not unique, and this entire universe is a mediocre piece of commie garbage. So if you agreed, let me know. And if you disagreed with me on this, go complain to your boyfriend.